Every billion-dollar empire has a crime scene. Nike's crime scene stretches back more than 60 years, across 2 continents, inside corporate boardrooms, and deep inside factories no one wants to talk about. The crime? Theft of ideas, technology, trust, and history itself.
Would you say the company benefited more from being a good marketing company or a good technology company? In other words, having a better product or having better marketing, or a combination of both?
Well, what I've always said is we're a marketing company, and the product is our most important marketing tool.
The cover story, a young track runner named Phil Knight. A $50 loan, a car trunk filled with shoes, and the kind of hustle that turns nobodies into legends. It's a story the brand still loves to tell because it's clean.
And it's one thing, it fits with sort of our view then and now about what a brand is. You know, it doesn't matter how many people hate your brand as long as enough people love it.
The real story is anything but. This story doesn't begin in Oregon. It begins in Kobe, Japan in 1962, inside the rising sneaker empire of Onitsuka Tiger, where craftsmanship and corporate honor still meant something. Tiger shoes were precision engineering, worn by Olympians, respected by coaches, envied by competitors. They were Japan's comeback symbol, proof that the nation could build products that dominate global markets. That's the house Phil Knight walked into. A 24-year-old nobody with a borrowed tie and a bold lie. He didn't pitch a product. He pitched an illusion. A thriving American distributor called Blue Ribbon Sports.
To a competitive response. And he had a way of having sayings that got your attention and really focused you on attitude. His strategy for running the mile was start out and run the first 2 laps at a very fast pace, run the 3rd lap as fast as you can, and the 4th lap triple your speed. And he said that you know, the Oregon Trail, he says, the cowards never started and the weak died along the way.
There was no office, no employees, not even a product catalog. Just Phil, a business card, and enough confidence to flip fiction into fact. Remarkably, Onitsuka believed him. They signed away exclusive US rights to Tiger shoes, handing Knight the keys to the American running boom. That handshake, it wasn't a deal. It was a detonator.
Generated from 2 places, basically the running track at Oregon, where Bowerman was always filling with shoes. And then at Stanford Business School, I took an entrepreneurship class where I wrote about you know, the track shoe industry and how to break into it. And so the 2 ideas kept growing. And then finally I went to my father and said, I need to pursue this a bit.
For a while, the lie held. Knight ordered Tigers, sold them from his trunk at track meets, and told anyone who asked that Blue Ribbon was the future of American running shoes. Sales grew. So did his hunger for control. In a cramped Oregon office, Knight and Bill Bowerman, his former track coach, started sketching new designs. Not original designs. Modified Tigers, adjusted just enough to look fresh while keeping Onitsuka's technology under the hood. And where were they made? In Onitsuka's own factories. Knight's little company was using its suppliers' technology against them, building a parallel future behind the very back of the partner who trusted him. The crime wasn't just a theft. It was theft in plain sight. Business is war without bullets. Phil Knight, Shoe Dog, 2016. If this isn't the origin story Nike taught you, that's no accident. History gets edited when billions are at stake. If you want more stories brands wish you'd forget, hit subscribe. If you believe corporate fairy tales shouldn't replace the truth, smash like. Because unlike Phil Knight, we actually credit the people who uncover the past instead of burying them. The shoe that made the crime impossible to hide? The Nike Cortez. Today, the Cortez is a legend. Back then, it was evidence.
At Nike is my work of art, if you will, and just the whole painting is what.
It was a near-identical twin to the Onitsuka Tiger Corsair, Same sole, same cushioning, same profile. The only real difference? Onitsuka's stripes had been replaced with a swoosh. Onitsuka didn't miss it. They sued immediately, accusing Knight of industrial theft while still under contract.
If you would just encapsulate the story of how you first hooked up with the Japanese company that got you started in the shoe business, and a bit about those early interactions and almost losing them. Just tell us that story.
Well, first of all, I had the theory that I'd written a paper for at Stanford Business School that Japanese track shoes should be able to compete in the international market, which was being dominated by German shoes, why would you make them in Germany? And so when I went to Japan, I went into sporting goods stores, and the Onitsuka company had made a shoe called, the brand called Tiger, which seemed to have the most promise. So I called them up.
Knight, ever the tactician, countersued, claiming Onitsuka had been secretly courting other distributors to cut Blue Ribbon out. It wasn't just a lawsuit. It was a full-blown corporate divorce playing out in open court. The future of the American sneaker market? It would come down to who could rewrite history faster. Phil Knight never innovated, he stole, and then he outran the evidence. Former Onitsuka executive, 1974, court testimony. 1974, Onitsuka versus Blue Ribbon Sports. Onitsuka arrived with the receipts, sketches, memos, production orders proving the Corsair existed long before the Cortez. Phil Knight didn't argue with the facts. He argued the narrative. He turned the trial into a David versus Goliath story, casting himself as the plucky American entrepreneur fighting off a predatory foreign corporation. The judge split the ruling. Blue Ribbon lost the right to sell Tiger shoes, but the Cortez stayed with Knight, reborn under a bold new name, Nike. Blue Ribbon disappeared.
You get a call one day that maybe those rights are going to be revoked.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, ultimately they did.
Nike emerged, baptized in betrayal. Nike didn't defeat Onitsuka, they buried them. Former Onitsuka lawyer, Shoe Dog, 2016. With Onitsuka wiped off American shelves, Nike sprinted into the running boom of the 1970s. The Cortez became a cultural icon, worn by Olympians, movie stars, and street kids alike. Phil Knight rewrote the company's story. The theft, the lawsuits, the double cross, scrubbed clean. In its place stood a legend of American hustle and innovation. But behind the swoosh, the supply chain told a different story. Factories across Asia produced millions of pairs for pennies a shoe, while Nike reaped profits once unimaginable. There is no morality in business, only survival. Phil Knight, Shoe Dog, 2016.
So ultimately they said, yeah, you either sell half your company, 51% of your company to us, or we're going to set up the other distributors. And
You didn't like that.
I didn't like it, but in retrospect, it was the best thing that ever happened to us.
Because then you get to start the company on your own.
Had to do our own.
Today, Nike is more than a brand, it's power itself. Its story, rewritten so many times, it's become folklore. But history doesn't forget. It just waits for someone to dig it back up. Phil Knight didn't invent Nike. He took it from Onitsuka, from designers, from workers paid pennies, from the truth itself. The next time you see that swoosh, remember, it's not just a logo, it's evidence. If you believe history deserves better than corporate fiction, hit subscribe and like, because stories like this survive only when you demand the truth. Because unlike Nike, we credit the people who expose the past, not just the ones who profit from it.